Tēnā tātou katoa. Ko ai tēnei tangata e tuake nei, ko li Timutimu tōku ingoa, heuri tēnei no mā tātua waka, heuri tēnei no Ngāti Awa, Ngāi Te Rangi Tūhoe, me Ngāti Porou. I tipu mai au ki whakatāne, engari tēnei wā kai kirikiri roa ahau e noho ana. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi kia koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Just want to start with mihi to the other kai kōrero this morning, Denise and Thomas. Thank you very much. And before I crack into my coho, you can chuck up the first slide if you want, Brady. We're good. I just wanted to say that I spent the better part of 15 years of my life in Auckland. I left Tipene, St. Stephen's School, and I came up to the University of Auckland, and I pretty much spent the next 15 years living here in the West. So I've lived all over the place, here, Henderson Valley, Te Atatu South, Te Atatu North, Newland, Glen Eden, pretty much everywhere. So I just wanted to mihi to the haukainga. Also, my two big kids were raised under the maru of Wani Waititi Marae, and they're currently part of the next gen of Ngā Tūmanako. So I just wanted to mihi to haukainga, and also good to be home. Yeah, I have the difficult task of standing between you fellas and Kai, which is always a challenge, but it's not the first time I've been in this position, by the way. So I'm just going to start my timer, and then we can crack into it, eh? All right, so just a little bit about myself. I'm a man of many pōtai, and this is just some of the stuff that I've been up to over the last 25 years. So again, born and raised in Whakatāne. I've worked in IT for the last 25 years, 15 years as a small business owner, 8 years as a technology founder, the last 5 years as a leader and advocate for Māori in tech, the last 3 years as a digital equity advocate. I'm currently the lead claimant for Y3311, which is a treaty claim that I registered with the Waitangi Tribunal at the beginning of this year. Essentially, it spotlights digital inequities that affect all Māori, not just Māori practitioners, but all of us. I'm also currently a member of the Kāhui Māori of the AI Forum NZ. Actually, I'm doing my Masters at the moment. I'm in the last 4 months of my Masters. This is someone that doesn't have an undergraduate background. I actually went to university, as I mentioned. I failed 2 years in a row, every paper. So I've come back as a mature student, I guess. And it's been really enjoyable studying at Academy EX, which is a private training institute here in Auckland, up in Grafton. Just finishing off my Masters of Technological Futures. So that's me. These are just some of the pōtai that I wear, or some of the kaupapa and organisations that I represent. The first one is Awa Digital. That's a Māori-owned health tech startup. We're developing in partnership with Te Whatuora Health New Zealand an AI scribe tool. Essentially, what it does, it transcribes consultation notes from voice to text, and then it outputs it into SOAP format. For those health researchers and clinicians that are in the room, you'll understand what I mean when I say SOAP format. So TMT is my consulting business. So of course I do a little bit of mahi on the side, consulting, essentially as a technology consultant that looks at problems through a cultural lens, I guess is probably the description for that mahi. I'm the co-founder of Ko Māui Hāngaro, which is a rangatahi technology summit that aims to inspire the next generation. That's our rangatahi into pathways in digital technology, innovation and entrepreneurship. Co-founded that with a good friend of mine in Tauranga Moana in 2018. Te Hapori Mati, I co-founded that a couple of years ago. Essentially it's a community for all Māori that work in digital and technology. And we're at 1,300 members now, which is pretty cool. Also, one of the things that I'm most proud about with Te Hapori Mati Huko is that we now have our own Māori Digitech Awards, and that's been a vision that or an aspiration that I've had for at least the last 5 or 6 years. And so we can celebrate people like me, like you, that work in the technology and digital space, just purely because we whakapapa Māori. So That's been pretty cool. I also am the founder of Marae Matiko. Sorry, I've got to talk about all of this because it's all me. Marae Matiko is a bit of mahi that I've had the privilege to work on, essentially delivering digital literacy workshops into marae around the motu. Been doing that for the last 3 years. I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good place to have these sorts of conversations, is at the marae. I'm sure we all know that. And so I've had the honour and privilege to have some really, really good and robust conversations with kaumātua, who are mainly our marae trustees today. And so, yeah, been able to really gain some insights, some really invaluable insights that informs a lot of the work that I do today. And finally, of course, I mentioned the claim. Takehau movement is the kaupapa that sits behind the Y3311 claim. You can check out all of the stuff online at your own time. This is something that I guess I'm proud about. I was a semi-finalist in the New Zealand QBank New Zealand of the Year Awards this year, essentially recognising all of the work that I just chucked up on the previous slide. But this blurb here, I think, describes pretty much me in a nutshell for the last 5 years or so. I'm a dedicated advocate for Indigenous voices with over 20 years of experience in IT. Lee is on a mission to foster representation and participation of Māori in the tech industry. So that pretty much is me in a nutshell, I would say. Alrighty, so I'm going to start off with a definition of AI. Well, spoiler alert, there isn't one definition of AI. But I'm going to give you a couple of definitions that resonate most with me, and hopefully you can have a think on or consider. The first one is, artificial intelligence, or AI, is technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. And that source has come from IBM, big global tech company. The next definition I have for you all is, AI is usually defined as the science of making computers do things that require intelligence when done by humans. And that's from the Turing Institute. Alan Turing, considered to be one of the godfathers of artificial intelligence and machine learning, back in the 60s, by the way. So this is not a new thing, whānau. And finally, I asked Matua ChatGPT what the definition of AI is, and this is what he told me. He told me that AI is like a computer that can think and learn on its own. It helps machines do tasks that usually only humans can do, like having a conversation or making decisions. So, hei whakaaro mō koutou, ne? Alright, so what's this thing called the double digital skills gap? It's a bit of a mouthful, actually, tongue twister. What does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? I'm going to attempt to try and explain to you what this means, at least to me anyway. So, let's understand first the digital skills gap. By the way, AI didn't generate any of these visuals and infographics that are coming up. I'll tell you the ones that AI did, or maybe you'll spot them. This is all me, right? Okay, so let's start with what I call the digital skills pyramid. Essentially, that pyramid there represents all of us. Te ao Māori, Māoridom, all 1 million of us, right? So just imagine that's everybody in Te ao Māori today. On the from top to bottom represents the level of digital skill. From side to side, obviously represents tangata, people, with the whole pyramid, of course, representing all of us. At the bottom of the digital skills scale, we have those, of course, with no knowledge to little knowledge, right? And if we look at this imaginary line that I've arbitrarily placed on this pyramid, it's not to scale whānau. This represents those of us who are digitally literate. Those of us who have adequate digital literacy skills, whatever that means, right? And of course, at the very top, we've got all our tohunga, experts, right at the top of and of course, this is what you would imagine this sort of skills pyramid to look like. And this applies to, of course, any other sector or any other industry that we might work in. All right, so there's your first skills gap, right? So, now the next imaginary line that I have on this pyramid, or that I'm going to place on here, is our understanding of artificial intelligence. You can imagine that AI as a subject matter sits on the top, right at the top there, because not a lot of us know what it is, how it works, or even how to develop new AI systems, or how to develop new technologies using AI. So there's your second skills gap, right? So, all right, hopefully I haven't lost you yet. The double digital skills gap is that section that the majority of us sit in. So, to recap, skills gap 1 is here. That's the gap that exists between no knowledge and basic digital literacy. Skills gap 2, the gap that exists between basic digital literacy and an understanding of AI, or blockchain, or cybersecurity, or te mea, right? All of these high-level subjects that exist in te ao matiko te ao hangaro. There is a significant knowledge gap that exists today in our communities, and I've seen this firsthand in all the work that I've done. I have a very privileged position to have quite a good scan of everything, and it drives me crazy sometimes because it wakes me up at night and it wakes me up in the morning because I'm thinking about all of these problems and challenges that face us as people, as communities, and I try and think about how can I solve these things. And it's a never-ending internal battle, I have to say. So, ki au nei, this is a cause, this gap here that we see, this is a cause for great concern for our people today and for our future generations. Because of course, we know that the world we live in is becoming increasingly digital. We've already heard some kōrero and whakaaro from Thomas, and the future of work, this is another thing, the future of work will look vastly different. So the jobs that we know today will not exist in the future. They will be different jobs using different technologies, and they will have different job titles. There will be change. It is inevitable, it is coming. So this is why I'm concerned about this knowledge gap, right? All right. So, over the past year, I've grown more concerned with the lack of education on the subject of AI in our communities and other subjects, not just AI. It's just that AI is proliferating at an exponential pace, and it's way more impactful and way more quick to proliferate than the internet in the early 90s. Some of us were around when the internet came about in the early 90s. Now you imagine that times 100. This is what we're actually living now with the proliferation of AI, and that's why during my masters, which I've been doing for the last 13 months now, I was exposed to a lot more artificial intelligence, research obviously, tools as well, and I became concerned because I've spent time with kaumātua on the marae. You ask them about AI, blank face. I don't know what that is. So you don't have that conversation then and there, because there's a way that you have those conversations with our people on the marae. We've already touched on it this morning. But the thing is, my concern is if we don't have a foundational understanding of AI, we'll get swept away. We'll get swept up in this wave of artificial intelligence that is here. And it's taking us all now, whether we know it or not. So with that concern, that growing concern, and the lack of education on the subject of AI in our communities, which I've seen, we know that there is a significant knowledge gap that exists. So here was my response to those concerns. And it's called Kete AI. Kete AI is curated by Māori for Māori, was co-founded by myself and Dr. Kraitiana Taiuru, who has already been mentioned today. He's one of our foremost experts on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and also Māori data sovereignty. It's a free online resource for Māori communities. The target audience was basically for Māori, out of my concerns, out of our collective concerns actually for our communities, for Māori, in terms of the lack of knowledge in the space. It's to provide, and more importantly, it's to provide a trusted source of credible and freely accessible information on the subject of AI. So that's what we created, and that was this year, earlier this year. So we launched it in May. It's been getting a lot of engagement, obviously. People have been using it. And one story that I wanted to share about the Kete is that we had a Tokelauan wahine reach out to us, and she said, I love what you've done with the Kete for your community, for your people. I want to do something similar to that for my people. And we're like, yep, sweet as. Well, here's your starting point. You just use whatever you need from this Kete that we've already curated and put up. You frame it up how you want to. By the way, these are the tools that we used to make this shareable and make it freely accessible. Here's the platforms. Here's how we did it. And I'm really pleased to tell you that she went off and did that. So they have their own Kete, and it's called Ngāti AI, which is pretty mean, if you ask me. So, and we didn't anticipate anything like that. But I think that's really just an Indigenous way and a Pacific way of doing things. I think collaboration is at the core of all the mahi we do, I feel. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a bit of a snapshot of what's happening in the industry today. Hopefully it'll give you an appreciation for what's actually going on or what isn't going on, as the case might be. All right, first off, the government has a very poor commitment to supporting and funding artificial intelligence. There is no government agency for AI compared to other OECD countries. There is no AI strategy, and there is no AI Act or legislation. I think they need to do a lot more work in improving the commitment that they have to this global phenomenon that is AI. Secondly, in terms of advocacy, we've got the AI Forum NZ, which I've already mentioned. It's an industry-led advocacy group. They do a lot of lobbying on behalf of their membership. And of course they have a kahui Māori, and there's myself, Kraitiana, and a few other really awesome Māori that are working in AI or working alongside AI or AI adjacent. Secondly, there's the AI Researchers Association. Some of you may be members of this one. This is a university or academic based membership community. And if you're not familiar with any of these, then you probably should go and have a little look, right? And lastly, I just wanted to raise again how poorly we are ranked globally in terms of our commitment to AI, our understanding of AI, and what we're actually doing about it. We're ranked 48th. This is our most recent Global AI Index, and we're midway down the table. All right. Oh, that image, by the way, was generated by AI. I forgot to say that, which is an interesting one. I actually did the prompt inside of Copilot, so I used PowerPoint to build out this presentation. There's Copilot now that obviously is integrated with any Microsoft Office product. Did the prompt straight into the side and Copilot, and boom, that's what it came up with. It's pretty ugly, but it's all good. All right. This little metric here, recent research conducted by Datacom, which is a big Australasian, New Zealand-founded IT company, provides us with current insights on AI. And although it looks through a business lens, so it's looking through a business owner's lens, I think it provides a general indication of where we are at as a society in New Zealand, right? So first off, the question here with this slide is, does your organisation use AI? It's actually increased since last year, so 66% of businesses use AI. 29% don't. 5% are still on the fence. Secondly here, has AI had a positive impact on your business? It's pretty much a resounding, yep, 80%, right? And then you've got 18% that kind of haven't figured it out yet, and 2% have said, nah, it hasn't had a positive impact. So we can see there's a positive, there's a benefit in using AI, but there are also downsides, which I'll touch on shortly. In the past year, there's been an increase in the uptake and use of artificial intelligence. Last year we were sitting at 48%. This year it's increased to 66%. We can see this is trending upwards, which I think overall is a positive sign. Essentially, Kiwis, New Zealanders, Māori, te aha, are adopting and uptaking artificial intelligence, and it's going up. And we should probably expect that to go up over the coming years. All right, so here's an interesting one. What are the top 4 concerns around the use of AI? The first one is security. What does security mean? In the sense that we don't know what implications AI might have for us, for our business, for our communities. So that's top concern. The next concern, which we probably should all be concerned about, is AI bias. So 46% of us, and that is the tendency for AI algorithms to reflect human biases, cultural and racial biases. Now, I feel like I'm sitting in a room of researchers. I'm sure we all can understand and also resonate with this particular concern. The next one is safety. Think Terminator. That's basically what this one is, right? Uncertainty around control or loss of control of AI is what that one represents. And the last one is ethics. Again, this is something that we should probably reflect on as well. The ethical questions around the use of AI in wider society. And if you specifically look at the role of a researcher, what part does AI play in how we conduct our research? And what ethics, AI ethics and guidelines do we have in place to support or to keep us safe and to keep our participants safe as well? Yeah? Alright, well, hopefully I haven't lost you fellas yet, but here we go. I'll take you on this roller coaster ride. Here's an interesting insight, and it speaks to my concerns around the lack of commitment and support by our current New Zealand current government. The general support for government legislation around artificial intelligence. Basically, should the government do more? And it's yes, they should do more. And I've already shown you a couple of snippets of how little they are doing. So I think this just really reflects the current sentiment around what our government is doing, or more specifically, what they are not doing. Just wanted to share people that I follow if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about this artificial intelligence kaupapa. I am no expert, not by any means. I think AI specialist is just sitting on the verge of what I accept myself to be. However, having again been involved in my master's for the last year or so, being exposed more to artificial intelligence research as well as tools, AI tools, I've really been exposed to like the coalface of a lot of the issues that exist, particularly where they intersect with our Māori and Māori communities. So, and hence why I have a little bit of concern around where we sit as a people at the minute. Dr. Kraitiana Tauru, a good friend and peer, one of our foremost voices on AI and ML, machine learning. He's done heaps of research and papers. You can find him online, tauru.maori.nz. I do encourage you to check out his writings and his musings. He just put one up, just a piece of research just yesterday, which I thought, whoa, good on you, bro. Frances Valentine, she's the founder of Academy EX, where I'm studying now. She's a well-known educationalist. She's someone who I consider to be one of our foremost futurists and visionaries in terms of emerging and disruptive technologies. She's got heaps of content online. I urge you to go and check it out, because she gives the straight up story, and it's very confronting, but I think it's very important for us to know. Okay, so I just want to take a step back and just go through a little bit of 101, just so we have a bit of a foundational knowledge. Apologies in advance to those who may already have this in their mātauranga and kete o mātauranga. So what does it need to work, whānau? Well, here's the main parts to AI. It needs algorithms. Think of them as smart instructions. That's the software side. It needs computing power and storage, big data centers with big servers running day and night. It needs the expertise, mātauranga, if you will, to be able to build new things, to be able to understand algorithm software and computational processing, etc., etc. And finally, this is the key one for all of us, it needs a lot of data. All right, so spoiler alert, another one. The horse is already bolted, whānau, the data has already been scraped. So there's nothing we can do about the data that exists and sits within these AI systems. It's already been done. They've gone through the internet over the last few years, they've scraped it all, what we call scrape, which essentially is grab anything that's publicly accessible on a website that exists on the internet, that's in the millions and millions of websites, and they have grabbed all that data and they have it. So there's nothing we can do about that now. Okay. So some of us may have heard this thing, data training data. Well, this is what it is. Training data is think of it as a set of examples AI uses to learn patterns and make decisions, like a student learning from practice exercises, practice problems. Essentially what AI does is it identifies patterns, recognizes patterns, and it matches those patterns. And that's what it is. That's what it does. At the core of it, that's all artificial intelligence does. But what happens if the data is incorrect? What happens if the data is incorrect, whānau? So I'm hoping someone will say, oh, and then I don't have to answer it. This is where racial bias comes into play, and this is something that we all need to be really concerned about. So why is data important in relation to racial bias? Data is crucial because if it reflects existing racial biases like unequal treatment, stereotypes, or underrepresentation, AI can learn and perpetuate those biases, leading to unfair or discriminatory outcomes. So essentially that's why racial and cultural bias data, that is how these AI systems have been built, with that sort of data, unfortunately. Okay, so moving along, I've got a kete of tools for us all. By the way, at the end of my coho, there's a QR code you can scan and you can download my presentation, and all of these links are clickable. Ne? Alright, so this is just a suite of tools that, I've gone ahead. Yep, okay. Before that, there was one slide out of sequence there which threw me. Large language models. Hand up if you're here, LLM, large language model. Cool, awesome. Well, these are some of the most commonly used LLMs or large language models. ChatGPT, we've all heard about this one. If you haven't used it, that's all good. Did you know that OpenAI owns ChatGPT, and Microsoft is a majority owner in OpenAI? Yeah, interesting how they bought a majority shareholdership in OpenAI, and then next minute Copilot is running in their office suite. Gemini. Anybody heard of Gemini or used Gemini? Awesome. Owned by our mates over at Google. Yeah? Yeah. The other one, or another one, sorry, this is not an exhaustive list of LLMs, by the way. The other one is Claude. Anyone heard of Anthropic? It's all good. Anthropic is majority owned by Amazon. Another big global tech company, right? There's a bit of a theme and pattern here, ne? Llama. Anyone heard of Llama or using Llama? Our mates at Facebook own Llama. Meta. Another big global tech company. So I'm really just bringing an awareness to these tools that we are all using or will use, and just understand that these large language models that we're using to do whatever are owned by some pretty big tech companies now. All right, now the research tools comes in. So, like I said, these are just some of them, and some of these I've used in my master's research. Horses for courses, it's your personal preference, it's up to you. Some of you may already have seen these, and some of you may already be using these, but I just wanted to put those up on a slide. And you can download my Coho presentation at some point in the future, and you can click on those and you'll go to find those various tools. Now, referencing citation, it's an important one for us all. I use Zotero for my masters, but there's another one called Mendeley, and there's probably like 10 others, but these are just two that I'm familiar with. And lastly, tools for safely capturing data in terms of qualitative data capture. These are just some of the tools that I know are safe for capturing data. What do I mean by safe? data privacy has been taken into consideration, and all four of those tools you either save locally or record locally to your device, or the organisation or the company that owns these platforms commits to not accessing your data. And that's something that's really important to me and should be to all of us. TLDV is what I ended up using for my research, by the way. And that's why I chose it, was because they committed to data privacy and not accessing any of my audio or transcriptions. What's the current state of play in terms of Te Ao Māori? How many Māori are in the AI space? Just a very quick slide on that, just to give you a sense of what that looks like today. By the way, this is based on research that Dr. Karaitiana Taiuru did, I think, earlier in the year. So there are 3 Māori-owned AI companies. 3 Māori-owned AI companies. There are 27 Māori AI researchers, lecturers, ethicists, developers. There are 3 Māori AI experts. And I'm not one of those, by the way. I would say Karaitiana is one of those. And lastly, there are 14 Māori AI academic staff. Now, before I click to the next slide, so that's a pretty stark picture, whānau. That was the point of that slide. There are not enough Māori working in AI. There are not enough Māori in AI governance. And the representation of us in this space is incredibly low, and it is poor. Yeah? Okay, so that's the state of play. It's pretty stark. Impacts on Te Taiao. I think this is an important one for us all as well. AI uses significant amounts of wai, and primarily they use it in cooling towers and air mechanisms to cool servers. What this means is that on an annual basis, 6.6 billion cubic meters of water is consumed. Some other examples: a 100-word email uses up to a bottle of water. A 100-word response from a GPT prompt uses about 2 litres of water. It also uses excessive amounts of energy, right, to power these huge data centres where these AI servers sit inside of these. And there's a few in New Zealand, by the way. There was Microsoft just built their one in Albany in Auckland, stealth as, and Amazon just built one across the road from them, AWS, in Albany. To train a large AI model consumes the same amount of energy as 120 households, and the energy consumed by AI workloads globally is equivalent to the energy consumption of a small country like Kenya. So yeah, excessive consumption basically. So I guess some other impacts include increased fossil fuel use for those data centres that don't have renewable energy sources. They have to burn fossil fuel to power these servers. Impact on water scarcity is another one, especially in those countries where they don't have much wai. This is going to have a huge impact on those countries now, because they need water. They need to consume water to cool down these data centres. And finally, the impact on electricity prices is an obvious one, driven by local and global energy demand from these AI data centres. I'm going to ask you fellas this question before I reveal what the answer is. What do you think the big AI companies are investing in right now? Anybody? Probably water, yep, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. Hydrogen? Oh, that's a good one. Land? Probably, definitely, yeah. All right, nuclear energy. Yeah, these fellas they need a renewable source of energy. So these companies are investing heavily in small form nuclear reactors. This is no joke, straight up. So that's a cause for concern in itself, right? Okay, so AI generative model energy consumption will increase by 160% by the year 2030. On top of that, AI data center consumption worldwide will increase from 2% to double. It will double by 2030. All right, so I'm almost in the backstreet of my koho, and I'm right on time, which is mean. He hanga wero mō tātou. What are the challenges that we face in the future, in my opinion anyway? All right, how do we build Māori capability in this AI space? Thomas has already touched on it, and this is incredibly important because we need to equip the future generation, the current and future generations, with the ability to be able to work with AI. And not in a, I'm going to put a text prompt into ChatGPT LLM level. I'm like building our own LLMs, and I'll touch on that very thing very shortly. Te Hapori Matiko and also Ko Māori Hangarau are putting a lot of mahi into developing learning pathways, but also career pathways. Due to streaming, which some of us may be familiar with in the current mainstream education system, our kids are not being navigated towards STEM pathways. That's a disconnect. Oh, actually, it's a barrier. That means they cannot end up in these areas of expertise that we want them to end up. But that's another conversation. He kōrero anō tērā. The next thing is, what about our taiao? What do we think about that, and what are we going to do about it? How do we design and build AI for sustainability? And certainly Indigenous knowledge is what is needed to solve this problem, I feel. Is it possible for AI to exist in harmony with te taiao? And I'm not going to give you a response to that one, but it is definitely something, another wero for us to ponder. Ne? Here's another one. Invert the pyramid, yeah? So that all of our expertise in mātauranga is the top, and there's very few at the bottom. Now this, I don't know how long this would take for any field of expertise, for any sector, for any industry, but he wawata, ne? This is an aspiration. And until we do this, it's going to be the status quo, really. Ne? And finally, this is something I talk about with our rangatahi all the time. In fact, many of our Māori tech leaders talk about this very thing. How do we go from being consumers of artificial intelligence to being creators of artificial intelligence? And yes, that was generated by Copilot AI. It's a very terrible image, which actually, let's face it, AI is not the thing, is not the solution, and it certainly isn't going to solve all our problems. It's going to help though. Finally, one thing is for certain, you may have already noticed a bit of a pattern here, but currently big global tech companies absolutely dominate this space. What do we think about that? Do we accept the status quo? And what do we do to achieve mana motuhake? Is there anything we can do today? He pātai, ne? All right, and this is a look into the future. What I see in the future. I see a future where marae become data training locations. They will also operate as digital community hubs, a place for mahi, Pākehī or enterprise, and digital skills training, amongst other things. We can use marae as decentralized data storage locations, as Thomas already touched on earlier, each with their own server and equipped with a sustainable energy supply. This is one of the things that I see in the future. Sovereign AI model. I see a future that sees us building our own sovereign model. An AI that is designed by Māori, built by Māori, is located on Māori servers, possibly at our marae, with data trained by Māori at the same marae locations, maintained and controlled by Māori for us, for Māori. Both of these visions, by the way, are not outside the realm of possibility. They are very, very much achievable. And personally, I tend to support the realisation of both of those, I guess, aspirations with all the work that I do. And my final word is, just be cautious, whānau. Like, do your due diligence, as we all should as researchers anyways, but especially in this field. I'm still very much on my learning journey. I'm definitely not an expert, not even halfway there. But what I encourage all of us to do is kia atu pato and take it slow, kia ata haere, ne? Seek advice, reach out to people that you know have that knowledge or that mātauranga, and get support, get help. Reach out to me if you want. Always be cautious and wary whānau. And I'm not doing any of these things because I run out of time. Those were fillers, ne? Alright, so koeira taku kouhou mō tēnei rā. Nō reira, you can scan that QR code and you'll go to my link tree. The very first link is a downloadable link to this presentation, so you can take it home and do what you will with it. Nō reira, I runga i te rā kouhou, ngā mihi kia tātou ko tai mai nei ki tēnei huihuinga, ngā mihi kia koe te rangatira e te kani mō tēnei wāhanga. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.